Saint Francis Xavier was born on April 7, 1506 in the royal castle of Xavier. He belonged to a rich family which was related to the great theologian and philosopher Martin de Azpilicueta. Xavier lived during an 18-year war that started in 1512 when King Ferdinand invaded Navarre. His entire childhood was surrounded by war until he left in 1525 to study in Paris. He attended the College of St. Barbe at the University of Paris and roomed with Ignatius of Loyola and his friend Pierre Fevre. Xavier did not like Ignatius and saw him as a joke, but eventually they became friends. On August 15th, 1534, Xavier, Ignatius of Loyola, and some other founders of the Jesuits met secretly under the church of Saint Denis outside of Paris. They made vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to the Pope and vowed to go to the Holy Land to convert. In 1534, he began to study theology and was ordained on June 24, 1537. Xavier left for India where there was very little Catholic influence and arrived in India on May 6, 1542. Like Jesus, he worked with the poor people such as fishermen. When he was in India, he translated a catechism and moved between small villages and preached the word of God. He baptized around 10,000 people in 1544, and he educated the people who received baptism, but they had no idea of the responsibility they were undertaking. He spent around 3 years in India before setting his sights on Japan. He arrived in a Chinese junk ship at the Japanese port of Kagoshima in 1549 at 40 years old. He was the first Jesuit to go to Japan as a missionary. However, Christianity wasn't very well liked in Japan. Shingon monks welcomed him at first, but as soon as he tried to implement his own Christian beliefs, he triggered them. He could not have an audience without paying a large sum of money, so he decided to change his approach. He presented himself to Agoshido, the ruler of Nagate, and offered many expensive treasures. He allowed Xavier to teach in his province. Xavier used paintings to teach about Christianity. He had long discussions with Buddhist priests and even made a few converts among them. One conversion lasted 5 days. For 2 years, he converted 760 Japanese priests, and he converted over 2,000 Japanese citizens. He decided to go back to India. Saint Francis Xavier left behind a substantial legacy and was noteworthy for his pioneering and missionary work. He had been credited to convert the most people to Christianity since St. Paul at an estimated 30,000. He worked to gain a foothold for Christianity in places like China and Japan, and his work in India resembled the earlier work of St. Thomas the Apostle. Many people today are named after him, especially where he is greatly venerated in places like Spain or other Hispanic countries. Also, many churches all over the world, often founded by Jesuits, have been named in honor of him. He would go on eventually to be beatified by Paul V on October 15, 1619, and canonized by Gregory on March 12, 1622. Pius proclaimed him as the patron of Catholic missions.